There we are.
Whoa.
I know.
Crazy.
We're in higher definition than reality. Hey everybody. I'm even gonna wipe the camera a little bit. Hey everybody. We're here. This is Ryan DaCosta. So the backstory, this is a little bit of the Command Z lore, is that in 2009, I got a message on the website at the time, which would have been creative-deconstruction.com. It was before we had the Radical Undoing website. And that was from a guy named Riley. And he was asking, he said, hey, I see you're doing the Christopher Hyatt Radical Undoing stuff. Where do you live? I'm into this. I'm doing this work. I want to know more. And I wrote back. I said, I'm in Eugene, Oregon. And it turned out Riley and I had the same martial arts teacher. He was in Portland, Oregon, which is what, hour and a half away, 90 minutes away. And then Riley came down to Eugene to experience a Radical Undoing session, and he brought Ryan along with him. It's bald here. It's just blonde hair, though, you see. Fuck. So anyway, no, my dad's hair goes all the way back to here. You know, like it. He called it solar panels for a sex machine, as his hair went all the way back. So I'm doing okay. Anyway, I just started to notice on the monitor. So anyway, so Riley comes down to Eugene, to my house, which is this beautiful house in the trees in Eugene. And then we did undoing sessions. Do you remember?
Yep.
And if you see Ryan, if you could turn your head like this, Ryan, if you kind of see him like that, he looks like Tom Waits from the old albums. If you look at the old Tom Waits albums, yeah. So when I was
very
young, especially when the beard hair gets growing, and I think that's my food is at the door. So Ryan, you can entertain people.
I don't really do these live streams ever, so I don't know.
Thank you so much.
I don't know the protocol, so I'm just gonna pour my tea and enjoy myself. Sort of just jumped in on this.
Anyway, yeah, so they got some food from next door. But anyway, yeah, so the story went that we Ryan and Riley came over. I look like Dr. Hyde now. So the fucking Ryan and Riley came to my house. We were all total strangers when we met. Like, you didn't even know me at all. Nope. Riley's just like, let's go meet this dude. And we went down to the basement, this beautiful room with the stone fireplace and stuff, and view of the forest outside. I don't even remember what time of year it was, but we laid down. And so then I gave each of these guys an undoing session. And while it was going on, I remembered thinking, holy fuck, I don't know these guys at all. They might just kill me. Like, what the fuck is this? They just came out of nowhere. And then I asked them about it. I don't remember if we talked about that then or we talked about it later, but we talked about it at some point later. And we all had that thought at that time. Like, what the fuck am I doing laying in the basement at some dude's house, like doing this breathing body movement thing? Remember, it's kind of insane. Yeah. If you think about it. It's less insane than what people do in society and all this, but it was crazy. And so we met up, and then at that point I realized, and I've been doing the undoing work for a few years at that point, many years. It's surprising because I met Dr. Hyde in 2006, and that was 2009 when you guys came, and I was doing it before I met him, but that deepened my grasp of the undoing work because I had to explain it to other people. I had to like actually hand this thing over. And if you know, Ryan, from like you've done personal trainer work and stuff. If you have a book, you can have a book that has like amazing, precise written instructions for a body movement, and you can get it all wrong.
Yeah.
You know, that's the same with rock climbing, with bicycling, with running, with anything physical. You try to write the best instructions. They're from your perspective where you know already how to do it. And you're trying to write, okay, push down with your foot. And then that person's like, what is the foot then? Is it the heel? Is it the toe? Where do you put your foot on the pedal for the bike? You see what I mean? There's so many details that you can't know of a physical practice unless you know it in person. Then once you build up experience with the physical practice, multiple physical practices, then you can go read the text and understand, oh, okay, it means this. I see what it means. Then after all that, you can go back to any text about physical practices and maybe find your way to rightness. You can see where you're wrong and where you're not, and you can use the instructions. So I digress there a little bit, but it's the idea is that this radical undoing work, you can read the books, you can even watch the videos, but when you meet in person or when you meet online, at least, and you have some feedback with the physical exercises, then you can go deep very quickly. And that's what we did, me, you, and Riley.
Mm-hmm.
We would meet up every week. We do the exercises, and we would look and say, okay, look, it looks like you're not fucking lifting your eyebrows when you're doing the eye exercise. What's going on with the shoulder there? Why is it rolled forward? Like all those little details, which would take you on your own. You'd have to video yourself and to know what the instructions were properly, and then see where you're doing it wrong, and then correct it in real time.
Yep.
So we would meet with each other and do this for like up to 12 hours, because we'd meet sometimes at 10 a.m.
Right.
Sundays, and then go till, I guess, maybe 10 p.m. Maybe it was 10 hours, or whatever. But it was a long time every Sunday. We'd meet up, we'd do the undoing exercises, we'd have some lunch and snacks, and then we would go to Victory Lounge and have a venison burger. Mm-hmm. And that's where we discussed the idea of starting this whole business. So that was a long way of saying Ryan's here from Oregon. He and I started doing this stuff together from a long time ago. And then we're going to be doing some of the radical undoing intensive, which some of you watching have taken, or some of you watching might want to do. Right now, that's invite only. You have to message me on the website. We meet up on Zoom, and then I see if it's something that can fit into your life, because it's difficult and it's a lot of exercises. And for example, Ryan and I were going to start doing that here, but it's not something cavalier. We realize you got to fucking look and set aside a couple hours of your day and some amount of time of your week to do this stuff, to actually do this work. And so yeah, anyway, we're going to be doing a bunch of live streams. We'll do a bunch of undoing exercises with you guys and share things that we're learning along the way. And we're doing other trainings at the same time. Ryan's going to start doing, he's a pretty amazing artist. So he's going to start exhibiting some of the art and showing, starting his YouTube channel, getting all that stuff going. So I wanted to come on to the stream, share that with you guys, introduce you to Ryan, and try out the new streaming setup too. As you can see, we have like a pretty sweet streaming setup now. The lighting is better. You can see us. You can see the background. Maybe we need to put the Christmas lights like on the, on the shelf, cool. Something like that. But yeah. So that's what we're doing. Anything else to add, Ryan? How's your experience in Croatia so far?
Yeah, I'm enjoying myself. It's nice.
What are the differences you notice between here and like Portland, for example? Like with the people, like what are the main things you noticed so far?
Oh, I mean, there's a stark contrast. I mean, well, also I speak the language in Portland, so my communication's a little different. But there's not trash everywhere. Meth heads screaming at themselves.
There's like no homeless on the streets here.
Yeah. I haven't seen any, I don't think. Yeah. I don't see trash anywhere. I mean, that was kind of my experience before I left. It just started getting worse there, but it is a beautiful city otherwise. The parks are amazing, and the gorge is amazing, the beach. I mean, it's a pretty incredible place outside of the politics and everything, I would say. But Croatia is cool. I like it. I like all the old architecture. I like the people. The people here are really social and amicable, and a little more I don't know, open. And
what were you saying earlier about like when my friend Daria was mentioning, Garrett, you've been here 4 years, why aren't you speaking language?
They're really direct here.
Yeah,
they say things very bluntly, and
but there's no bad vibes in it.
No,
right?
not at all. It's just very direct, and it's like observational. Like they're not making any kind of like qualitative assessment necessarily. They're just pointing out something like, I noticed this thing about you, or I noticed this thing about this situation. And then it's just like, there's nothing insidious about it or judgmental. It's just kind of like, everyone's just very direct. I've noticed, even compared to Sweden, which is where I was for the last month and a half, which is Also a great place. No homeless people, very clean. A little on the sterile side. People are very cold and quiet and stiff, and it's hard to kind of engage initially, but you can. It just takes a little while. I think it takes alcohol too with them, not for yourself, but just to speak to someone. It's like they really have some walls up there. And I think someone was telling me they have this saying. I could be saying this a little bit wrong, but it was along the lines of we'll invite you in with an elbow in your chest. So it's like they'll be topically nice to you. Like they'll be like, oh yeah, hey, okay, nice to meet you, whatever. But they don't really want to engage you. They like to be left to their own devices, I've noticed. They're like a very solitary people. But then they'll go out on the weekend and there will be 20 people in a group and they'll just get wasted. And I think every single weekend I was there, I saw people lying passed out on the floor and their friends helping them up. And so there is that, which I think that's like a product of their inability to socialize in general. Just it's like they're so shy and so they have a lot of pride, and they kind of create this persona. It's like this persona, this facade of perfection. Whereas the Croatians do not do that. They seem to, they just don't seem to value that kind of narrative as much. It's like they're much more cavalier and outgoing, and they kind of, they almost, they have a little bit of that like Italian kind of bravado.
You know, it's bordered on Italy. I don't know if you
There
knew
you go.
about that,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it's on
Across the Mediterranean.
during the time of fascism, the Croatians gave away this place called Istria, which is a little triangle. I wonder if we could even fuck, my mouse died, but I wonder if we could bring it up. If you look at Croatia, there's a little triangle in the Adriatic Sea, and the communists around the, I don't know the timeline of this, but around the 40s, gave that piece of land to Italy. And then after the resolution due to World War II, or after that fact, I don't know exactly when, but then it was given back to Croatia, but it's full of Italians and Italian culture now as well. So there's a big mix there.
Yeah. I can sense that.
Yeah.
It's
the
cool.
language will sound a little different down there than here too.
Yeah, I feel like, and then going back to Portland,
and I loved Portland when I lived there, dude. It was like
back in the day.
And I was going there even as early as 1999, and then mainly like in the 2000, 2001, 2002, 2003. It was like it was ripe. There was punk rock shows on the river and abandoned. There was no warehouses there anymore, but the foundation of like all these abandoned factories, and then go down and have a punk rock show, and the police were super chill, and like a lot of good experiences in Portland. You could rent a place, and you could rent a room in a house for $200 or $300.
Yep.
You know,
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, everything changes. Like I know I see like Bonnie Prince Billy, Will Oldham talks like him and his wife own 2 houses in Kentucky, in Louisville, Kentucky. It's like a place you wouldn't necessarily think of going to live, but then of course there's artists and musicians and families and people, and then in Louisville they live a great life. Whereas if they had that same money in LA or something, they would have a tiny apartment. So, and then maybe Louisville will blow up, and then you have to go somewhere else. But yeah. Oh, so I wanted to ask you stuff about like what was if you remember it all, what's the deal with this undoing work? Like why Why is that? Why was that so powerful more than anything else? Like at that time, because I remember all of us being amazed consistently over months, even like moment by moment while doing those sessions. Man, like there were times where it was so mind blowing.
Yeah, I think probably. Well, I know.
I mean, what's going on? It's laying down on a mattress, breathing and moving your body. Why is this fucking so profound? Why should somebody fucking try that out?
I mean, I guess if you wanted to get into the science behind it, put it in layman's terms, you trap tension, trauma, experiences in your body, and then those kind of determine how you react to the world around you as life goes on. So even whether or not you're experiencing the same thing, which you're not, it's always different. You have an imprint and sort of a preconception about how that experience is going to transpire. And with the radical undoing, it sort of dissolves these imprints so that you have kind of a how do I put it? Just a more innocent approach to life in front of you, and I feel like there's all kinds of beneficial things that come with that. You're mitigating tension, anxiety, depression, because you're no longer subscribing to these narratives that aren't true, that are probably the engine for why you're so depressed all the time or why you have so much anxiety. And it's like all that stuff begins to dissolve, and the world becomes a much more beautiful place, and it's open to new experiences. And I mean, I could go on and on forever, but
what about your personal life?
But
like, why would you go meet up and do that all Sunday instead of something else? You know what I mean? Like, because most people are not doing that.
Yeah, probably because I felt like my life depended on it. It was like,
way?
Well, I wanted more out of life. I just wanted a better experience. I wanted to enjoy it.
But what was the restriction before that then? Like, what was the problem that would lead you to do something like that?
I think I tried maybe meditation initially, and then when I met Riley, he was doing some kind of alternative practices, and then he had mentioned radical undoing, and I was like, oh, that sounds interesting. What is that? I think I had read Waking the Tiger, which was all about releasing traumas through the body through movement and breath work and stuff like that. So I had kind of a cursory knowledge of that, and then he introduced me to that, and then he said, he knew you. So he said, there's this guy down in Eugene. He studied with Hyatt.
Yeah.
I think, we'll learn a lot, and do you want to go down there with me? So prior to meeting you, I had no experience. He just told me about it.
Okay. See, I didn't even know that right now. Yeah.
So wow. I had dipped my toe in like Zen meditation, things like that. And then I used exercise, lifting weights, things like that. I've always been like pretty physical, but that only gets you so far.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was and then I don't know, I think after my initial experience doing an undoing session, I felt it was so visceral that even though I wasn't sure whether or not it was beneficial to me, like I didn't know what it was doing. I didn't know if it was good or bad.
Yeah.
I just knew that the effects were intense.
Yeah.
And so I was willing to experiment with it because I was like, well, I don't really have anything to lose here.
Yeah.
And my bullshit detector is pretty strong. And I feel like most things are just fads and gimmicks and they come and go. And it's like, uh, all these, there's so many ideas being thrown at you constantly, especially nowadays. And luckily I was surrounded by you guys, by two people who were very adamant about this system and willing to try it out and passionate. And I was like, yeah, shit, let's go for it. And then I would say 2-3 weeks in, I started noticing really profound shifts in the way I was thinking about the world.
Yeah.
And so as soon as that happened, I was like, oh, this is real. This is no joke. And then it was like, wow. And then I started treating life as though I was like in a dream. It was kind of like the old, cliche of like, taking the red pill or whatever. It was like I was in the Matrix and I'm like, oh, this is all an illusion. I can do whatever the hell I want. And so I started to really experience life in that way. Not to say that I was like, doing things that would like put my life in danger or something like that, but just a little bit more cavalier and carefree. It's like not everything in your life has so much fucking gravity all the time. It's like kind of, meaningless really, but it's a paradox. It's
like the shit other people think of you in this kind of layer. So like imaginary suffering, I like to call it fake suffering. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have a place. It doesn't have to be present too.
Right. Yeah. So,
the way I conceived of it was that the first session I had was that I did it with a DVD I did it from a book, but I had seen DVDs. I had talked to Hyatt and I was practicing the face stretches and the warm-ups and things for a while. And then I did this full lay down session. And even then I did not understand what it was or how to do it. I just followed instructions and lay down and did that session. It was maybe an hour and a half long or a little longer. And at the end of it, I couldn't pick up a pen. My small motor skills were gone. I could only grab a pen with my fist. And I thought I was dying. I was like, I'm actually dying, dude. This is fucked up. Like so much intensity in my body, like electric. I couldn't move my jaw and things. And I was writing and then I realized, well, I'm not dying. I'd be dead. What is going on here? And I realized, fuck, I have this body. And it was a reality, not an idea. And it wasn't in pain anymore. My body wasn't in pain, but I was aware of it. And I'm looking down because I was noticing how amazing it was that I could have a thought and move my toes. I was like, whoa, it's way down there. And I can move it. And then I was like moving my fingers, like just simple things like that. And I could feel my forehead. I was like, it's vast. Everything expanded in it. And I was like, oh my God, I have this body and this, no matter whatever happens to me in life, no matter how much pain I'm in, this is insane. This is so amazing. This is miraculous to even have this at all. This is so crazy to exist, to have anything. And that created a break between my life before and my life after, which was like, okay, no matter whatever could happen, no matter what the thoughts are, emotions, reactions, I have this thing that's like right here and it's okay. Like there's nothing that can touch this experience. And then that brought me to the awareness that it's not that I'm this observer of the body, that I'm not even the body. So that relieved me of the pain of thinking that, of all this work to preserve the body and you try to keep it alive and it's going to fucking die. I was like, oh, okay, there's something else observing this existence situation. I don't know if it's a soul or what it is, but that I'm observing that I have this body to live through, but I'm not the body either. So I'm not the thoughts anymore. I'm not the emotions. I'm not the reactions. I'm not the personality. I'm not what other people think of me, and I'm not even the body. So what is this? And it catapulted me out of all the intellectual studies. I was into the occult and the Masons and everything else. And brought me to like this joy of existence itself. Just the joy of existence. And I'd see flowers and be like, oh my God, look at that flower. Wow. And then if you remember, we started having experiences like where everywhere I went in Portland, and I know we talked about this, waiting in a food line or whatever, and then the dogs and the animals and the kids would come up to us. You remember?
Yep.
It happened to us separately and together, consistently, over and over and over time. The kids and the animals. Yeah.
I'd actually have people. This was very strange, but I'd walk down the street and people would veer and walk straight into me, like they could, like they saw it coming too, and then they couldn't help themselves.
Yeah.
And it started to happen to the point where at first I think I took it personally. I was like, what the fuck,
Someone's coming at you.
Yeah. And then I was like, oh, this is comical. Like, I think I know what's going on, but they have no idea. I mean, I don't really know what's going on, but I had experienced it enough that it was kind of funny. And then I kind of got to the point where I was like, almost expecting it, which is when it stops happening.
Right. That's the problem. When you start intellectualizing it again. Yeah.
It was weird.
But the joy of it was that because me and you and Riley were all doing that work together, we weren't just alone with a book somewhere or whatever. And then meeting up every week and being honest with each other, that we were able to see what the results were in real time. Whereas if you're doing it alone, then that stuff could happen on the street. The animals could come up to you, and your brain could, the demons, whoever could tell, your mind could tell you, oh, that's annoying. These fucking dogs are coming up to me. What's the problem? But never recognize what's really going on. You see what I mean?
Right.
But when we would share notes, and I remember there was other experiences where we'd run into each other in town. You mentioned you and Riley, you were at some bank that you never go to. That's not in your neighborhood, not in his neighborhood. And then you're in line and you see him. He's in front of you in line.
Oh, yeah.
Remember all these kind of things. There was so many of those. I wish we wrote those down in a video, but that was becoming the norm of our experience.
Right. Yeah, that's true. Well, and I think also, I don't even know if I would recommend that the average individual goes as intensely as we did.
Oh, dude, we were digging in the rib. Yeah, we were going hardcore.
Yeah, I think the reason we were capable of doing that is because we had each other.
Yeah.
And so it was like a support group. I would say if you were going to get into undoing on your own, you could go half the fucking speed and have easily, like, the results could be comparable, if not better. I don't even know because we were kind of guinea pigging really. And it was like, I mean, we were getting into some intense stuff. So, I mean, we could have done damage and, like 2 steps forward, 1 step back kind of thing. You have to moderate it over time. But I will say that overall, obviously, the experiences were like transcendental. Often.
I mean, and all of us broke free of wherever we were living. Like when I met you guys, then I just dropped my life in Eugene, which was 12 years in the making. I mean, I fucking dropped it and moved to Portland.
That's right.
And that just opened up. I mean, it was like a friend of mine said, come visit at my house. And then she's like, I'm moving out of this house. I need someone to take the room. It was like that day. That's the speed at which things were happening. I mean, I just packed my car. I didn't even know. I knew I could stay multiple places in Portland because I had friends, but I didn't know even where I was going to drive the car to that day. That was the level I was operating on.
Wow.
And I drove up and was like, hey, what's going on? And then my friend Heather was like, I'm moving out. I want to live at this house anymore. Take my room. And that day I felt like, oh, here's the money. You know what I mean? Like that house in Tabor, that was how that happened.
Wow.
I was in the day that I just showed up. None of that was planned, man.
That's so cool.
I threw away half of my stuff into the trash that wouldn't fit in my car from Eugene.
Wow.
And then drove up and then had that place and then it just kept going and then moved to California from there. And then like, holy fuck, then back to Eugene, then Columbia, and which is all beautiful stuff in between. And some of it painful and tragic. It was not that ended, but like I have a love for the depths of the pain and the tragedy and the joy and the beauty. I don't see it as separate anymore. I don't see that life I'm not constantly judging everything of my past as being something negative, Like the course we're taking with Jeffrey, he mentions he's like, oh, you guys are going to think I'm weird, but like whenever there's some crazy thing or some life slaps me in the face, I'm stoked because now I get to learn this before I'm 90 years old.
Right.
Like, it's not like
you start to invite the conflict, the perceived conflict.
And not that you're out creating it, right?
Right,
but you're just like not running away from things. Oh, wow, I didn't know about this.
Yeah, you can
this
integrate.
person's yelling at me. Let me find out what's going on here.
Right.
And everything can be converted into this sustenance and beauty and joy in your life. It really can. And I'm not talking about some fucking new age bliss. You know what I mean? This festival fucking bullshit. You can maintain it during the day all summer when you have the drugs. Yeah. And then all winter you're at home fighting with your partner. No. We're not talking about that. I wish that stuff worked that way. That would be amazing. That would be great. But it doesn't. It doesn't work like that.
Yeah. 100%.
All right, we got to get off here because there's people coming over to play some tabletop games. But this is the first of many. We'll jump on here. We're going to give you guys we'll do exercises with you. We'll play music. We'll do other things like that. But I just wanted to jump on. Ryan's going to be here for at least a month, a little longer, and we're going to do some undoing. And we'll share some of those experiences with you and also some of his art. And you guys can buy some of that. So, yeah, that's it for now. But there's a little backstory. Hope you guys enjoyed it. We're not fucking around. I mean, there were times I thought I shouldn't be doing this stuff. I mean,
oh
man, what am I doing? This is fucking stupid. My life was cool before this, you know.
I had a few existential crises for sure, where it was like, I think I fucked up. I think I ruined everything. Oh God, what did I do? I'm gonna end up in an asylum.
Yeah.
All that shit. Yeah, and then 3 days later, I'd be like, oh wow, this is amazing.
Yeah. So on Radical Undoing, it's like a bad mushroom trip that leaves you better than before you took it. So you'll regret it while it's happening.
Yeah.
But afterwards, you'll be like, my life would not be the same without this. Yeah. So there you go.
Yeah.
Go to the website, get on the email list. That's where we send out most of the stuff. Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, we'll see you guys again soon. Enjoy.